Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so yesterday we did receive quite big update video, so I have covered battlegrounds in a separate video and also infamous Iron Man abilities. Now we're gonna quickly go through Act 8 news and what you guys can kind of expect, because I did in fact also play through 8.1 beta, so I do kind of know some of the things that are going to be there. Obviously I have no idea how much they will have changed, but I do think that I can give you guys kind of like a brief explanation of these weapon nodes before time, so you, at least some of you, might not get confused when you immediately jump in Act 8. And the base idea with weapon nodes is very simple. So they get node, in this case, some sort of benefit, and they're going to call it a weapon. But in reality, it's no different from any other node, with the only factor that it can be switched off. It's effectively next evolution of ebb and flow knockdown or ebb and flow intercept or something like that, where defender receives some sort of benefit, whether they take less damage or they have increased power gain or they have some sort of extra attack or whatever. And then there is always a way how to disable that node, with a heavy attack, with a special attack, with an intercept, with a stun, you name it. And then that node goes on cooldown for X amount of time, and whilst that node is in cooldown, you receive some sort of benefit. So it's exactly the same as ebb and flow knockdown, as ebb and flow intercept, except it's split in 3 different nodes. So they, like ebb and flow intercept, for instance, they have 60% protection on them. That would be the benefit. When you intercept, you disable that benefit for X amount of time, and you receive the benefit instead, which is Fury. So all of these weapon nodes is just a really unnecessarily stretched out ebb and flow nodes, basically. To kind of make it simpler. Sometimes it will be worth to play within a node, about half of them, and about half of them I found it much easier just to ignore. Like, some of them didn't seem like overly well thought out, or at the very least not extremely beneficial. Like this one was very cool, where whenever you disable the weapon by knocking them down with a heavy attack, you just keep spamming your heavy attacks and they're gonna take 600% more damage. Simple. Just spam heavy attacks the entire fight, and for most of the fight you're gonna be dealing extra damage. Awesome. Again, some of them will be kind of borderline pointless to me. So we are here, but at the very least, the bare minimum thing to say about weapon nodes is that all of them did seem much better and less intrusive than paradox nodes, because yeah, you always had the option just not to worry about. And whereas with the paradox, if you kind of ignore it, then you just get this huge damage done to you. Here, if you ignore it, nothing happens. It's just that defender has a node active. So yeah, that mechanic does seem kind of like better designed. It also does seem, as I said, somewhat overcomplicated, because they just basically split down ebb and flow node or whatever into like 3 different nodes. So whatever lets them sleep happier. However, that principle being explained, it is important to know that everything else there pretty much remain the same. It's going to be 6 paths, 6 fights on a path, 3 bosses, all the same. One difference that I noticed in Act 8.1 is that there were quite a few lanes where you will want to use champions that deal a lot of damage through block, like Valkyrie, like Corvus, like Massacre, like Karnak. So it would be really beneficial if you have at least one of those ranked up, because that would definitely make your life easier. I think in like 4 or 5 lanes for sure throughout the entire quest. And then obviously we do have the next thing to talk about, which was like the first thing that I actually saw, which is that Black Widow's Kitalis, apparently the servant of Ouroboros. And I'm not going to go into the whole lore of the things. We're going to go through abilities. And I think at large, based on all the icons here, it does seem that it is going to be something similar to 7.3 Kang Fight or of the sort. There will be some mini games in this case, unfortunately, and I do say unfortunately sincerely, because I absolutely dislike dealing with root. This boss will in fact incorporate root mechanic, and there's going to be some sort of evade and some sort of unblockable and some sort of power gain, but I don't think it is going to be anything that we haven't seen before already, aside from root being implemented in the boss fight. I don't think it's, you know, as big of an implementation as we had with Kang, where we had our animation slow down and sped up. But yeah, I do expect again there to be these different phases, these different mini games. As we can see, I think these will imply what type of phases she has active. And she does look like a cool boss. Obviously, we do need to read and see her full abilities. They do seem to have quite a few icons again, and I'm 100% sure it is going to be a lot to do with just a learning curve. Like with all of these boss fights, if you initially get smacked by them, do not stress, wait for a guide, or just reread her abilities. And it's indicative of all of these boss fights since Grandmaster, basically, where you need to understand what you have to do, and then the fight becomes a lot easier. A bit of practice, a bit of knowledge always go a long way in these fights, because these are typically not the fights where you can brute force them. We are brute forcing them with a ton of items and whatnot, but then we put out a guide and it turns out it's relatively straightforward and simple. And within, like, you know, couple of hours or half a day, there are solos flying out and stuff like that. It is always just about learning curve. So if you do go up against this Black Widow, you know, within first couple of hours and she whoops your ass, just be a little bit of patient. Again, don't get tilted, reread the abilities, possibly wait for the guide. But overall, I also wanted to remind people that this 8.1 is coming out exactly 1 week after the update drops. So do not expect it on the date of the update. I do believe it was 14th or 15th of September when it is coming out. So I'm actually very happy about that, because that means that I will not have to decide whether I want to stream Battlegrounds first or whether I want to stream Act 8 first. And I will be live as soon as Act 8 comes out. I will be going through it. I will be making guides, as I always do, of each and in single quest. I will be doing the boss guide, also easy completion guide, all of that good stuff as soon as it comes out. But keep in mind that it's still about 2 weeks till then. But before that, we have the release of Battlegrounds, which I will obviously be covering in a very, very deep detail on the channel, because Battlegrounds is fucking awesome. And I want to play as much of it as possible. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Which one you are guys more excited about, Battlegrounds or 8.1? And what do you think the rewards are going to be? I haven't given it too much thought. Perhaps you have. So let me know what you think. I'm going to catch you guys later. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about